All right, so I've already done kind of like the first layer of red for the lovebirds. Um, I've picked two colors for them, and the reason I went ahead and did the first layer is because they're going to require several layers. So that's just the first layer to get us started. We're going to wait for that to dry, and while that dries, we're going to work on the snow on the trees. And for this, I've decided to use a thin palette knife. Okay, so this is going to allow us to pick up the paint and manipulate it differently than a paintbrush will allow us to do. It usually will go on in a thicker lines, and it will give us an effect that we can't achieve any other way. So the two colors I've picked for the snow are a vanilla Craft Smart and some metallic white from Artist Loft. I'm really not a particular fan of any specific brand. I'll use any brand, but this time we just happen to have a lot of Craft Smart. They're a good brand and I rely on them quite often. So you can see here on my palette, I'm kind of sort of mixing the colors a little bit. I'm getting them all loaded on my palette knife, and then I'm just going to kind of take some off, and then we're just going to draw some lines here. And you can see how it gives texture whenever I pull the palette knife off. And that's a texture that we want. It really makes it appear more realistic. You want to be careful that you don't overstep the edge of the tree. And so right here where the branch meets the trunk, we're going to skip that part and we're going to go on down past that, because when we do the tree, we're just going to do kind of like a top layer. At some point in the future, I'm going to do a demonstration of how to paint with heavy bodied acrylics. They tend to be a little bit more expensive, but you can get so much vivid texture in your pieces whenever you use that. So I'm just kind of doing the finishing touches over here on this tree. Let's see, I overstepped a little bit there. So I'm just going to wipe that away. It's like it never existed. Alright, so I'm going to do that the top of this branch here. You want to try to keep your palette knife as flat as you can. You don't want to use it like a pen or a pencil, which I just did. So alright, so that's about it for this tree. I'll finish up the other tree another time, but now I'm going to try to get in another layer of red on these lovebirds. So the reds that I picked for them are Tuscan Red, another Craft Smart, and a bright red. All right, so I love this Tuscan Red color. It's a deep blue red, and I just think it's incredibly vivid. If I have to use a red in something, I'm pretty much always going to try to use this shade right here. All right, and I'm making the male, the bigger of the two lovebirds, the darker shade of red, and the female is going to have a mixture of the bright red and the dark red. And that's to kind of indicate that maybe there's a source of light outside of the reach of the painting. Maybe it's over here and it's allowing shadows to form differently across their bodies. So keep in mind how shadows are going to lay whenever you're painting your own pieces. All right, as I do this, I'm taking care to cover up all of the pencil marks we used to draw our template. And I'm trying to stick to that vaguely heart-shaped stroke because it kind of gives the feel of romance that we are looking for here. So I think a couple more coats later on is going to eliminate these darker patterns right in here, and we'll have none of the white canvas peeking through. All right. I'm not sure if you can tell in this lighting, but she is a slightly lighter shade of red than the male, but this space right here, you can kind of see the canvas through it. I'm just going to have to wait until this paint dries before I can apply a third layer to it. And you've already seen me do this one tree. I'm going to finish up this tree in the same way, and that's our painting. Thanks so much for joining me.